This was when Amara and Kim Joon-ho meet when her period came out in the crowd. He protected her. Now the dark side is about to start. And don't forget that Kim Joon-ho risked everything for her. If you have forgotten, go back and watch the part 1 to fit in this emotional story. The text message came at 2:47 a.m., 7 words from a number she didn't recognize. He can't protect you forever.
Oh my.
3 months ago,
This can't be happening.
Kim Joon-ho saved her from the worst humiliation of her life, and now someone wanted her to pay for it. She looked at her locked door, her drawn curtains, and realized with ice-cold certainty that someone was already watching. The text message came at 2:47 a.m. Amina stared at her phone screen, the blue light cutting through the darkness of her small apartment. 7 words. No name, no number she recognized. He can't protect you forever. Her heart kicked against her ribs. She looked toward the window, curtains drawn, door locked, exactly as Joon-ho had told her. But standing there in the dark, phone trembling in her hand, she felt it anyway, the cold certainty that someone was watching. The night he saved me made us lovers. And it made us enemies. This is what happened after he protected me. If you haven't seen part 1, go watch it now, link in the description. And if you're already here, hit that subscribe button because this gets darker before it gets better. 3 months had passed since that night at Club Lumiere. 3 months since Kim Joon-ho had wrapped his jacket around her shoulders and made an entire room of dangerous men look away. 3 months since everything changed. Amina didn't work at the club anymore. Joon-ho had made sure of that. She worked for him now, administrative duties, nothing dangerous, nothing that required her to smile at men who looked at her like she was disposable. A quiet office on the 3rd floor of one of his legitimate businesses. Clean work. Safe work. At least, that's what she thought. The new normal felt like a dream she kept waiting to wake up from. Joon-ho would appear at the office late in the evenings after his meetings ended, still wearing his suits, still carrying that controlled stillness that made people nervous, but when he looked at her, something in his face softened. He brought her tea. Green tea with honey, the way she liked it. Never asked if she wanted it. Just set it on her desk and sat across from her in the chair by the window. "How was your mother today?" he asked one evening. Amina looked up from the paperwork she'd been organizing. "Better. She's walking more. The treatment is working." He nodded. Said nothing else. Just watched the rain slide down the window like he was searching for something in it. "Why do you do this?" she asked quietly. He turned his head. "Do what?" "Take care of me. Take care of her. You don't owe us anything." His jaw tightened. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, in a voice so low she almost missed it, "Maybe I just want to." Her chest ached. She didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to hold something this fragile without breaking it. So she just sat there with him. And the silence between them felt like the safest place in the world. They talked about things that didn't involve blood or danger. Small things. Real things. She told him about the café she still dreamed of opening someday, somewhere warm with wooden tables and soft music and bread baking in the mornings. He listened like her words were the only ones that mattered. "You'll do it," he said. "I know you will." "How do you know?" He looked at her. Really looked. "Because you don't give up." And the way he said it, quiet, certain, like it was the most obvious truth in the world, made her believe him. But not everyone was happy. The whispers started 2 weeks in. Amina heard them in the bathroom, in the break room, in the hallways when people thought she wasn't listening. "She's sleeping with him. How else does someone like her get a job like that? She doesn't even belong here." The last one stung the most. Because it was the same thing she'd been hearing her whole life. Different words. Same meaning. You don't belong. One afternoon, she ran into Min-ji, a woman who worked in accounting, sharp-faced and sharper-tongued, who had made it very clear from day one that she didn't like Amina. Min-ji was standing by the elevator with 2 other women when Amina walked past. "Must be nice," Min-ji said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Having someone powerful clean up all your messes." Amina stopped. Turned. "Excuse me." Min-ji smiled. "Cold. Cruel. You heard me." The other women looked away. Pretended they hadn't heard anything. Pretended this wasn't happening. Amina's hands curled into fists at her sides. Every instinct screamed at her to say something, to defend herself, to fight back, but she knew better. She'd learned a long time ago that some battles only make things worse. So she walked away. Head high. Heart heavy. But Minji's words followed her all the way home. Loving him made me a target. The first real threat came on a Thursday night. Amina was walking home from the bus stop, same route she always took, same street she'd walked 100 times before. The streetlights flickered overhead. The air smelled like rain. She felt it before she saw it. The prickle on the back of her neck. The weight of eyes that shouldn't be there. She turned. A man stood 20 feet behind her. Dark jacket. Hands in his pockets. Face half hidden in shadow. Her pulse spiked. She turned back around. Walked faster. The footsteps behind her matched her pace. Her phone was in her hand before she even thought about it. She pulled up Joon-ho's number, finger hovering over the call button, but before she could press it, a second man stepped out from an alley ahead of her, blocking her path. Amina froze. The man smiled. You should be more careful walking alone at night. Her throat closed. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. The first man was closer now. Right behind her. Close enough that she could hear him breathing. Tell your boyfriend, he said, voice low and cold, that Park Sung-jin sends his regards. Then they were gone. Disappeared back into the shadows like they'd never been there at all. Amina stood there shaking, phone clutched in her hand, and realized something that made her stomach drop. This wasn't over. This was never going to be over. Joon-ho's face went stone cold when she told him. They were in his office, door locked, blinds drawn, the city glowing through the windows behind him like a battlefield dressed in neon. They touched you. His voice was dangerously quiet. No. She swallowed. They just talked. They said to tell you Park Sung-jin. I know what they said. He stood. Paced to the window. His hands were trembling. Amina could see it even from across the room. Joon-ho. This is my fault. His voice cracked. Just barely. Just enough. I should have known he'd come for you. I should have. Stop. She crossed the room. Stood in front of him. This isn't your fault. He looked down at her. And for the first time since she'd known him, she saw something she'd never seen before. Fear. Not for himself. For her. They sent me a message too, he said quietly. 3 days ago. Her blood went cold. What did it say? Choose power, or choose her. The words hung between them like a death sentence. Amina felt the floor shift beneath her feet. What does that mean? Joon-ho's jaw clenched. It means Park wants me to prove my loyalty. It means he wants me to give you up. Publicly. Violently. Or he'll start a war. She couldn't breathe. And if you don't? He looked at her. And the answer was written all over his face. People die. 2 nights later, everything exploded. Amina woke to the sound of breaking glass. She bolted upright in bed, heart hammering, still half asleep and trying to make sense of the noise. Her apartment was dark. Too dark. The streetlight outside her window had gone out. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Inside her apartment. She grabbed her phone. Fingers shaking so hard she could barely unlock it. She pulled up Joon-ho's number and hit call just as her bedroom door slammed open. 3 men. Masks. Guns. She screamed. One of them grabbed her by the arm, hard enough to bruise, hard enough to drag her out of bed, and she fought. Clawed at his face. Kicked. Bit. Did everything she could to break free. Stop moving, he shouted. She didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Pure survival instinct had taken over, and she was not going to let them take her without a fight. Then the gunshot came. Not from inside the apartment. From outside. Followed by shouting. Running. Chaos. The man holding her let go. Shouted something she couldn't understand. And then all 3 of them were running toward the door. Amina collapsed against the wall, gasping for air, phone still clutched in her hand. The line was still connected. Amina. Joon-ho's voice came through the speaker, sharp, controlled, lethal. Stay where you are. I'm coming. He was there in 4 minutes. The door to her apartment hung open. The men were gone. And Joon-ho stepped through the threshold like death itself, suit jacket gone, shirt rolled up to his elbows, blood on his knuckles, gun in his hand. He looked at her. And the cold, controlled mask he always wore shattered completely. He crossed the room in 3 strides, dropped to his knees in front of her, cupped her face in his hands, rough, shaking, desperate. Are you hurt? His voice was raw. Did they touch you? She shook her head. Couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. He pulled her into his chest. Held her so tightly she thought her ribs might crack. And for the first time since she'd known him, she felt him shake. Not from fear. From rage. I'm going to kill them, he whispered against her hair. Every single one of them. And she believed him. She saw it the next day. The news didn't report it. The police didn't investigate it. But the whispers spread through the underworld like wildfire. 3 of Park Sung-jin's men found dead in an alley near Haeundae. Execution style. No witnesses. Amina sat in Joon-ho's apartment, the safe house he'd moved her to in the middle of the night, and stared at him across the room. You killed them. He didn't deny it. Didn't apologize. Just looked at her with those dark, unflinching eyes. Yes, Joon-ho. They broke into your home. His voice was calm. Too calm. They put their hands on you. They were going to hurt you. So yes, I killed them. And I'd do it again. She stood. Walked toward him. Stopped a foot away. This is your world, she said quietly. Blood. Violence. Death. This is what loving you means. He flinched. Like she'd hit him. I know. His voice cracked. I know what I am. I know what this costs. And if you want to walk away, he stopped. Swallowed hard. If you want to leave, I won't stop you. She stared at him. At this man who had saved her twice now. This man who had killed for her. This man who was offering to let her go even though it was tearing him apart. And she realized something. She didn't want to leave. Why did you become this? She asked. He looked away. You don't want to know. Yes, I do. Silence. Long and heavy and painful. Then, finally, he spoke. My sister was 16 when she died. His voice was hollow. Empty. She worked in a club like Lumiere. She was alone. She was afraid. And when something happened to her, something she couldn't control, no one helped her. They laughed. They humiliated her. They threw her out into the street like garbage. Amina's throat tightened. She walked into traffic that night, he continued. Didn't even look. Just stepped off the curb. Gone. Tears burned behind her eyes. I was 19, he said. I couldn't protect her. I couldn't save her. So I became someone who could never be powerless again. He finally looked at her. And his eyes were wet. I became a monster, he whispered. So no one else would have to. Amina crossed the space between them. Took his face in her hands. And kissed him. Not soft. Not gentle. But desperate and real and full of everything she couldn't say out loud. He kissed her back like she was the only thing keeping him alive. When they finally pulled apart, she pressed her forehead against his. You're not a monster, she whispered. You're just hurt. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in years, Kim Joon-ho let himself believe her. The attack came 3 days later. Joon-ho had moved them to a safe house outside the city, a small building near the coast, quiet and isolated. He thought it was secure. He was wrong. Park Sung-jin had eyes everywhere. And someone on the inside had talked. It was raining when they came. Hard, violent rain that drowned out the sound of footsteps and car engines and everything else that might have warned them. Amina was in the kitchen making tea when she heard the first gunshot. Glass shattered. Joon-ho shouted her name. And then everything was chaos. Men poured through the doors, 5, 6, maybe more, all armed, all moving fast. Joon-ho moved faster. He grabbed her, shoved her behind him, fired 3 shots in rapid succession. 2 men went down. The rest scattered. "Stay behind me," he said. Voice deadly calm. "Don't move." She nodded. Her whole body was shaking, but she trusted him. She trusted him more than she'd ever trusted anyone. They moved through the house together, his body a shield, his movements precise and controlled. He was a different person now. Not the man who brought her tea. Not the man who talked about dreams. This was the syndicate leader. The killer. The weapon. And he was protecting her with everything he had. They made it to the back door. Almost outside. Almost free. And then Minji stepped out of the shadows. Amina's breath caught. Minji. The woman from the office. The woman who hated her. She was holding a gun. "I told them where you were," Minji said. Her voice was shaking. Bitter. Jealous. "I told them everything." Joon-ho raised his gun. "Move." "No." Minji's finger tightened on the trigger. "You ruined everything. You chose her over all of us. Over the business. Over everything we built." "Move," Joon-ho repeated. Colder now. Final. Minji's face twisted. And she pulled the trigger. Joon-ho moved. He shoved Amina sideways, hard enough that she hit the ground, and the bullet that was meant for her tore through his shoulder instead. He didn't scream. Didn't fall. Just turned and fired once. Minji dropped. Amina scrambled to her feet. Blood was pouring from Joon-ho's shoulder, but he was still standing. Still moving. Still pulling her toward the door. "Run," he said. And they ran. They made it to the car. Somehow. Through the rain and the blood and the chaos, they made it. Joon-ho drove with one hand. The other hung useless at his side. Blood soaked through his shirt. His face was pale. But his jaw was set. "Where are we going?" Amina asked. Her voice was raw from screaming. "Anywhere but here." She looked at him. At this man who had taken a bullet for her. This man who had killed to protect her. This man who was bleeding out in the driver's seat and still refused to stop. "If I leave," she said quietly, "I leave with you." He glanced at her. And despite everything, despite the pain, despite the blood, despite the fact that they were both probably going to die, he smiled. A real smile. "Then we leave together," he said. 6 months later, the café opened in a quiet neighborhood in Jeju. Small. Warm. Wooden tables and soft music and the smell of fresh bread every single morning. The sign above the door read, "Lumiere." Amina stood behind the counter, hair loose and free, wearing a simple cream sweater and a smile that finally reached her eyes. Her mother sat in the corner booth, healthy, alive, reading a book and laughing at something on her phone. Joon-ho walked in through the back door. No suit. No gun. Just a dark sweater and an apron, and a piece that looked foreign on him, but was slowly becoming familiar. He walked up to her. Set a cup of tea on the counter. Green tea with honey. She looked up at him. And he looked back. No words. Just understanding. They had left the blood behind. Left the violence. Left the underworld that had tried so hard to destroy them. And they had built something new. Something theirs. If this story stayed with you, do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment telling me what you felt, and subscribe so you never miss another story like this. Because sometimes love is the most dangerous choice you can make. And sometimes it's the only one worth making. He protected me when I bled. And again when the world tried to take me. This time, love saved us both. Fade to black.